There is a strong suggestion that the kids who have mental health conditions are using more screen time.
How many of you guys would put their hand up to say that they'd be okay if social media didn't exist at this moment in time in their world?
The dad of three is challenging federal leaders to raise the age limit teens can access social media from 13 to 16 years old.
We're driving everybody to 36months.com.au to sign the petition.
We need to stop having talk fests. We need action.
Anthony Albanese has today met with passionate campaigners.
Australian lawmakers have passed a bill,
A world first.
to ban children from using
Social media.
Social media is doing harm to our kids, and I'm calling time on it.
My name is Greg Atwell's Director of 36 Months. In 2024, we led a national campaign to raise the minimum age of social media from 13 to 16, the first law of its kind anywhere in the world. Now we're rebuilding the ecosystem around adolescence in politics, schools, and homes. Because healthy teens don't raise themselves. They're raised by adults brave enough to build better systems, so the next generation can grow up better, not faster. Kelly and Matt, thank you for both being here today.
Thank you.
I wanted to start by saying that I cannot imagine what you both have had to walk through with the loss of your beautiful daughter Charlotte last year. But I did want to say that your courage to advocate for change in the face of grief has been nothing short of inspiring. We're so grateful for this courage here at 36 Months, and I don't think we would have changed the laws in Australia without you. Your voice and Charlotte's voice became intertwined with ours last year, and I thought it would be helpful for parents to understand your experience, or as much of it as you feel comfortable sharing. And so I wanted to maybe start with Charlotte, and if you feel comfortable, I'd just love to learn more about the kind of person that she was.
The sweetest, kindest, most thoughtful, funniest, beautiful girl in the world. From the time she was born, you know, I've said it literally since she was born, that one first breath and two lives began, because I was just reborn when she was. She was my absolute love of my life and my soulmate. And one thing I'm very lucky to say is that we knew how much we loved each other every day. So even right up until her last day, I feel like there's nothing left unsaid between us. Which doesn't make things any easier to lose her. Might make it harder, but I have I wish I told her I love her more. You know, every day we heartfelt and meaningfully spoke to each other, hugged each other, loved each other, texted each other, wrote each other notes. She helped me more than she will ever know, just for being her. And then when Will came along, she was absolutely amazing. I didn't think that a love that I had for her could ever be recreated, because that's just how strongly I felt for her. But the moment she held Will in her arms, I saw that spark. And he was only a few hours old, and you know, my whole pregnancy, she said she would talk to my belly every day and say, "It's me, your big sissy Charlie." So when she held him, she had this smile from ear to ear, and she said, "It's me, your big sissy Charlie." And that was one of the most beautiful moments of my entire life. She wasn't afraid of him. He was a refluxy little whingy thing, and she'd walk him around the house. Shh, 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 shh. You know, when he got a bit bigger, she said, "Oh, Mummy, how about you have a break?" And, you know, because we don't watch much TV or anything like that. We used to go to the movies a lot, but Matt has a full-on week. So on Fridays we used to watch a movie. So she said, "Oh, Mummy, I'll start taking Will on Fridays so you can have a break." So we'd watch our Outback Oat Pool Hunters and, the other documentaries that we watch, or we might put a movie on. And it was just so lovely, and she'd spend that time with him. And
So really like others focused, and
she was most of her life was all about Mummy.
wow.
Which, if that's, and then when we extended our family, I was knocked off my perch. She told me that I wasn't walking her down the aisle anymore. Matthew was going to. And then when Will came along, he just knocked us both down. We were on the podium, but 2 and 3. And he was a shining star. But back to your original question, she was just so funny, so kind, such a good helper, so thoughtful.
I think it's the thoughtfulness for me that stands out.
Yeah.
To see kindness and generosity in someone so young.
Yeah.
Her birthday money would be spent buying gifts for other people.
Wow.
It's just those sort of things you can't teach. You've either got that or you don't, and she had it in spades. Big emotions, real big emotions. She had, when she was in a great mood, she was in a fantastic mood, and she had low lows too. Felt very deeply. Words mattered a lot to her. If people were mean to her, she really took that on board. So yeah, felt very deeply. But I think for me, it's that kindness and generosity that she had. Putting other people always before herself.
Always. I mean, before I met Matt, I used to do night shifts, so no matter how hard my mum tried, she couldn't get her to go to sleep because she had to she had to wait up, and she turned the heater on because I've got this little, I'm always cold, so no matter what season it was, she'd know, "Oh, Mummy's coming home at 9:30, whatever time." Heater on, glass of coconut water with ice, and my robe ready. So she bought me this robe when she was 5, and I've worn it basically every single day since then, and everyone's always made fun of it. And it's a big story behind that robe. If you got 2 years, I'll tell it to you. But it's even on that morning when the ambulance driver came in and told us she was gone, they were dragging me out of the room, and they picked up the robe and they covered her in it. And as painful as that is, I get some sort of solace from it, because I told her, if anything ever happens to me, keep my robe and wear it as a hug from me. So I feel like, in her final, I was protecting her by wearing that. It was, she was one of a kind. You'd have a long day and you'd go to bed and you'd hear clink, 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 and think, "Oh, who's in the kitchen?" And then when you wake up in the morning, all cleaned up with Post-it notes.
No way.
Yeah,
Wow.
We've got 4 kids. Like, even when there was just the 3 kids, it was, easier to keep on top. But if there was a day that I went to bed without cleaning, she'd come downstairs and go, "Oh, I just wanted to surprise you." So she was just so thoughtful and so kind and so sweet. And, yes, as Matthew said, she had really big feelings. She was so happy to be liked and appreciated, but she was also really heartbroken when people were mean to her. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that about her. I know it must be really.
I mean, I could go on for days, but I think we're gonna run out of time.
What parts of Charlotte's story do you want to share with others?
Oof. Where do we go with that? So I think for the main thing that we're trying to drive by putting ourselves out there in these very uncomfortable situations and talking about things that are very painful is we're trying. I think the thing that we hear most from people is, there are no words. I have no words to, can't imagine. You really can't. And it's not, thankfully, most people will never experience it. It is a grief that is unlike anything else. It's awful. And, Charlotte was very clear. She left notes for us on what she wanted us to do. And there were two main things that were there. She wanted us to tell the school, and we did. That took some time for them to hear, but eventually they did. And she wanted us to raise awareness so that no other child had to go through what she went through. And we're hoping by talking about it, and again, putting ourselves in these uncomfortable situations, that new conversations around the dinner table will happen. Parents that are having issues that have felt uncomfortable speak up about it. And whilst those conversations may be difficult, nothing is more difficult than this. So we will spend the rest of our lives talking about her, in the hope that by sharing her story, it'll lead to real change. And we've seen that already, and we're really grateful for the positive things that have come from this. But that work for us is just beginning. There's more work to be done.
And I really feel like Charlotte's story didn't end. It is continuing, because I truly believe through every life she saves, she lives on, which is why we won't stop. So if we can just have one child who, reaches out for help in an intense moment of grief instead of making a mistake that they can't take back, well, then she lives on. And we just truly believe that.
And she has already done it. I couldn't tell you how many people have reached out and said she has already saved the life of their son, their daughter, kids themselves that have reached out. We have received hundreds and hundreds of messages on top of the thousands of supporting messages in what we're doing. But individuals that this has, Charlotte's story has already has already saved their life. And you can go to all across social media. Her story has been shared so many times. I don't know why we were given this voice and this platform to share her story, but we feel this sense of responsibility now, having gone through what we went through and what we continue to go through every day, just to stop it from happening to any parent. And so because of that, we just won't stop. We won't stop until it stops.
in my personal opinion, I truly believe that she just, in a moment of high emotion, she made a mistake. And unfortunately, we can't take it back. And we're not angry at her. We're not angry at anyone. If anything, I blame myself. I just don't understand how this happened. I mean, I guess the happiest girl in the world. Good night, and she never made it to bed. And that's really hard to accept, and I don't think I'll ever accept it. But if we don't wake up every day and do something good in her name, then she can't live on. We want her to outlive us. So we just need to keep trying. And, you know, when she said raise awareness, I believe that's for anti-bullying and for youth mental health. So that's what we've jumped behind. And, you know, we just want better for our kids. And we need, you know, everybody needs help doing this. Schools need help, parents need help, kids need help, and things need to be acted upon very swiftly, just so it doesn't get to that point where someone's life is made so miserable that they there is a comment that tips them over the edge. And, you know, Charlotte's comment was, "You're fat, you're ugly, and go kill yourself." I mean, she was 48.5 kilos, and on the day she passed, and I don't know that because I had her on the scale every day. I actually know that because of her bracelet in the morgue. It told me so. And that is a tough pill to swallow, but I need people to know that's the reality.
Yeah.
You know.
So someone sent her a message or something like that and said that phrase.
Yeah, that's what the last person to talk to us told us. And we know they didn't mean it. It doesn't mean we support that person at all. It just means we beg people to choose kindness, not to throw out those harsh, nasty things that they think are funny, because you don't know how someone's going to take it. You know, something that someone probably thought they were being cool or whatever. It ended everything for Charlotte, for us. And, you know, we are working with the government for anti-bullying laws to be looked at and reformed. And my personal opinion is acting on things swiftly is so important. You know, it's not the end of the world to get a detention. It's not the end of the world if you're being nasty. It's not the end of the world to be suspended if you can't control yourself. It's actually not the end of the world to get expelled if you can't be a part of a community and make everyone feel comfortable and safe. The end of the world is the end of your life. And what happened to Charlotte is the end of the world. So
You said there, Kelly, schools need help, parents need help, and kids need help. And I just wanted to maybe ask you both about those three groups of people for a second, because one of the things that we learnt last year just through the campaign was that, you know, whatever's going on for a teenager will manifest itself at school. And schools are under a lot of pressure at the moment because their duty of care used to be between 8 and 3 while kids were on site. And social media in many ways has blown that up and made wellbeing a 24/7 challenge for schools. What happens at home plays out in the playground. What happens in the playground follows them home. And you mentioned that Charlotte had left a message to ask you to share with the school or pass on something to the school. And I'm not interested in like knowing the detail of that, or I'm not interested in like I'm not trying to get you to sort of point a finger of blame or throw anyone under the bus, but I think you have been through something that not many people go through, and you have a really unique perspective on how schools can better support kids at such a really like developmentally critical kind of time. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on what you think schools, I mean, you shared a little bit there around it's not the end of the world to get a detention and whatnot, but have you got any other advice for schools how to sort of better support and help kids who are either experiencing bullying or kind of just going through a challenging time?
Yeah, and it's not one school. It's happening in all schools.
Yep.
It's a big issue. After Charlotte passed, I was spending some time online looking at anti-bullying policies across schools, and I would go to one school and I'd read their policy, and I'd go to another school and I'd read the policy. It was different, and then I'd go over to another school and their policy was different. Why have we got all different policies here? Why, if I'm a child in one school on one side of the road, do I have to adhere to these set of rules and guidelines? And yet I could be a child in a school just across the road and there'd be a different set of rules. So it was one of the questions that I originally raised with government, and originally with New South Wales government. We met with Chris Minns, and I asked that question. Why isn't there a uniform policy in place across all schools that helps identify what bullying looks like, because it looks very different today to what it did when I went to school. And not to say that the things that happened when I went to school don't happen today, the physical elements of bullying, but there is that, and it's a whole lot different now. And I think the online world plays a big role in that. But there is no uniform policy in place with what is bullying, when issues are raised in schools, how are they dealt with? I mean, if you're in a public hospital system and an issue happened on the operating table, it would have to be reported in the same manner, and that incident would be raised and investigated, and there'd be an outcome of that. And yet, across schools, there's no policy in place as to when things are raised, how they will be dealt with. So it's up to the school's discretion as to what they do with it. And I don't think that sits well with us, and certainly not with most parents that we've spoken to. And thankfully, nor does it with government. It was interesting that government were surprised that we raised this, that they had no idea that there weren't these policies in place already, to the point that many of them were embarrassed that it hadn't been thought of before we raised it. And along with the work that we did alongside 36 months on the social side of online bullying, our experience is it generally starts in the school, and that's where it needs to be addressed and nipped in the bud. And for me, I've been very clear on this from the outset. There should be no tolerance with it. If you want to be a part of this school community, there are a set of rules and guidelines that you need to follow. And if you step outside of that, then there are consequences for that. And this is what the consequences look like. And so we are hopeful, and apart from the bilateral support that 36 months were able to receive around the social media, changing the dates for social media, we have seen the same support on a national framework around bullying policies in schools. And so, Anthony Albanese came out and said, they'll put a task force on this. We've been working with New South Wales government, Chris Minns, Prue Carr, Education Minister here in New South Wales, has been fantastic. and they're already on the front foot looking to put in place originally they'll just do a state-based set of guidelines that all schools, irrespective of if you're an independent school, you're a private school, you're a public school, these are the set of rules and guidelines around bullying. Here's what it looks like. If it's identified, here's how it's reported, mandatory reporting on it, and here are the consequences for kids that break those rules and guidelines. But I do think, having said that, there's a whole lot of education that needs to happen as well. I do think that teachers need a lot more help than they're getting today. Teaching is very different today than what it was when I was at school as well. And to your point, it doesn't just stop at the 3 o'clock school gate that it used to. I think they need a lot more help in helping identify what it looks like. Often it starts with things that are schools refer to as friendship issues, and that's what it is. So a group of boys or girls that were once friends, and for whatever reason that friendship group breaks down, and then it continues with things like ostracizing and having children miss out, and you're not invited to my party now, or you can't sit with us at lunch. And these are things that schools can identify early. And again, if they just say, look, there is no tolerance for that type of behavior in this school. I think the other thing that they need help in is, and certainly our experiences, we felt that it was always on Charlotte to do better, to cope better. She needed to undertake counselling. She needed better coping mechanisms. And I think that whilst that can be helpful, I think you also have to look on the other side at those that are causing the issue to take place. And perhaps they need counselling as well. Perhaps there's something going on in their life, their home environment, that is causing them to behave like this. And rather than putting a Band-Aid on a cut all the time, let's just stop the cut from happening in the first place. So for us it was, and we were, we got to this place really quite soon after Charlotte passed away, is we wanted to throw our support to you in 36 months on that social side of it. And to Kelly's point, Charlotte skipped to bed that night. And if it wasn't for the message that she received on social media, she would have woken up the next morning. And that's really difficult for us. But in addition to that, we need to stop these things from starting in the first place. And so, a lot of work has been done already, a lot of work still to be done.
All right. And we don't think at all that you need to be friends with everybody. You don't have to like everybody, but you do have to be kind to everybody, and you do need to respect everybody. And we're so caught up in this world of, I don't even know what world we're caught up in, but to me, we're raising young adults. We're raising young community members. So let's hold them, especially when they get to high school, to community standards. If it wouldn't fly after you graduate, don't let it happen. If you went to work and you said to someone something nasty, you're not going to last there very long. And I'm not saying kick everybody out. I'm not saying, bring back the cane. I'm just saying, let's raise young community members. Let's build up our community, and let's be a community in doing that. Let's have parents on board with teachers, teachers on board with parents, both of us collaborating with students to sort of nip things in the bud. Because a phone call home to say your child is making someone feel this way, let's have a meeting, is a whole lot easier than a knock on the door from the police to say.
And I think the workplace is a great example. The workplace has come a long way in this area. Things that were seen as more acceptable back when I joined the workplace just wouldn't fly today, and for the right reasons. And so to that point, you know, workplaces have no tolerance when it comes to these type of things, and yet you're at school and we're not teaching the same things to our kids that are going to leave that school gate and go look for work, and they're going to get a shock.
Yeah, so environments and cultures can evolve and improve and become healthier, just like a lot of workplaces have over the last sort of 10, 15 years.
I mean, and we keep saying, you know, things like kids are kids. Yes, absolutely they are. So let's adults be adults. Let's step up. To Matt's constant point, we wouldn't let two of our kids at home carry on in a certain way. They'd be separated, they'd be spoken to. You know, they would, you know, if one had to go to their room because they were an instigator, to think about what they've done, whatever, even just separating them to evolve the high emotional states that they get in if they argue. I mean, our kids don't necessarily do that, but, you know, I'm from one of 11, so there's, you know, there's always someone not talking to someone, but anyways, that's another story. But no, we just feel like this is a community issue and we all need to come together as a community.
That was very well articulated. Thank you. I think that's really insightful and really helpful. You mentioned, Kelly, parents need help.
Yeah.
If you could share a message with parents, what would it be?
I know people keep saying we need to check in our kids more, we need to ask them what they're doing, all of this, and that's absolutely correct. But in my actual experience, I did that every day. We spoke every day. We, you know, I called schools, I emailed. I thought I knew everything about Charlotte and she knew everything about me, but there's still that layer of, which I've learnt now, of parent and child, and they are going to keep things to themselves. So what I would say to parents is, if they do bring an issue to you and it isn't escalated, get louder. You know, I'm of two minds there, because I believe in being kind and respectful and saying, well, this is the issue. But I also feel that I wasn't loud enough in Charlotte's case. So I find parents are friends with parents, and then, you know, the kids are fighting that week. They're on, they're off, they're in, they're out. And it's just exhausting. And I think I scratch my head. I scratch my head for what happened with Charlotte, because we spoke every day. We were so in tune with each other, constantly checked up on. There was never a day or a meal time or a morning or a pickup from school that I didn't say, "Are you okay, baby?" Sometimes when I could see that she wasn't okay and I'd push the issue and say, tell me, it would cause friction between us. And, you know, she'd be backed into a corner. And my psychologist actually said to me, how about you just say, Charlotte, what's wrong? If she says nothing, don't push it, don't back her into the corner. Say, I can see you're not okay. When you're ready to talk about it, talk about it with me. And that helped us a lot when she was in those states, because almost instantly she would go, okay, well, she knows I'm not okay. She's not, you know, she didn't feel confronted as a child. I feel like I'm making no sense of going around in a circle.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
But, you know, my advice to parents, I don't know where we went wrong. So, and I replay it over and over in my mind every day, and I punish myself and I say, oh, I shouldn't have pushed her, I shouldn't have told her to be more resilient, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. I think actually, if your child's not happy, and not just a one-off unhappy, but actually, you know, miserable. I told Charlotte, just make it to the end of the term, sweetie, and I'll take you out. Her funeral was on the last day of the term. And that's our reality. So if you have to step up and make big movements or changes for the welfare of your child, I think you should do it. That's my advice. And, you know, originally we thought, you know, just get her a little bit more resilient, because if she goes to another school and, you know, it may be same problems, this, that, blah, blah, blah. I had no idea she had Snapchat. And I also didn't even know that 13 was the age that it was supposed to be honest with you, because, like, you know, even from her cheerleading days, when she was 5, 6, 7, there was girls there that had Snapchat and TikTok and all the rest. And she asked me to get Snapchat when she was little for faces. So, you know, that's what I thought it was. I thought Snapchat was a filter thing. Yeah. So
that's what it always starts. I just want it for the filters.
Yeah.
It's something so simple like that. Yeah. And they've all got it. They've all got it. And if you don't have it, you get ostracized for not having it. But yeah.
All of you 5, please can no. Well, because once Matthew made me aware of the fact that it was social media, I was like, oh, okay, well, we're off it. So year 5, she started at a new school, and I was late picking her up one day, and she was outside. It was only about 5 minutes, but she was a very anxious child, so she was outside crying. So I felt horrible. She felt horrible. Get in the car. We're going to Telstra. Got her a phone that day. And that was for safety reasons, so that if I was running late, I could communicate that with her. I had no idea I was giving her the world at her fingertips, which I should have. You know, I just never thought that it would be used for a weapon of self-destruction in the end. I mean, everyone's got a phone for contact reasons, but now my sisters have gone backwards. They have got their children phones, but they've gone back to the old one. It's for a text message and a call only. They don't want them on the internet. They don't want them searching things, which, you know, not everyone's going to do, but it's a good precaution. And I've gone off point.
You haven't at all, no. I talked about parents needing help, and if you had a message to share with parents, what would it be? And it's all really, really like powerful advice, to be honest.
I don't want to lay blame to anyone, especially to vulnerable young girls who they've made a mistake, and whoever said the last things to Charlotte, I'm not on your team. I'm not, you know, like in support of what they said, but I know it was a mistake from their end, and I know they didn't mean this, and I know Charlotte didn't mean it, and it was just a moment of intense grief, and she made a mistake. And what we want to do is take that moment away from children, first via social media, and secondly by supporting the Kids Helpline. We're hoping with that parent to child barrier that if they have someone to reach out to, that they're not embarrassed to talk to. You know, Charlotte and I had a wonderful relationship, and still whatever happened on that night she felt was too big or too embarrassing or too whatever she thought to bring it to me. And I think had she known, she didn't have to pick up the phone and make an old school phone call. If she could have just chatted to a counsellor online and got all her venom out and those high emotions that you're feeling at the time, I feel like she would have had a release and she would still be here. So we want to raise money for the Kids Helpline, and we want to raise awareness for the Kids Helpline. Let children know that there is a safe place to go. But hopefully, getting rid of social media will take away a lot of these problems.
Can you share more about that, the work that you're doing with the Kids Helpline and Charlotte's Wish and that, and let people who maybe want to contribute to that know where they can go?
Yeah, it's so yeah, on top of the two things that we were tackling, you know, the policies around bullying in schools, and the social media side with 36 months. As you know, these things don't happen overnight, working with government, and yet we've got kids that are very vulnerable each and every day. So the Kids Helpline is amazing. Each year they take more than 100,000, I think it's close to 140,000 reach outs from kids and young people that have issues that they want to talk to a counsellor. And it's the only 24/7 counselling service available, free counselling service that's available specifically for kids and young people. Suicide is one of the top three topics that are discussed. So think of that as 140,000 reach outs that are happening, and suicide is one of the top three.
140,000 in what time period?
In a year.
In a year.
In a year. And with the counselling work, 75% of those connections happen after hours. So it has to be a 24/7 service that they offer. And so whilst government figures out how to fix their issues, we're throwing our support behind Kids Helpline just to give kids greater support. And we absolutely believe that if Charlotte had picked up the phone or a text through to Kids Helpline, that she would be here today. So it's a very important cause for us, and they do amazing work.
But I also want to say about the Kids Helpline, something I didn't know until after Charlotte passed away, and that would have been helpful for me through the exhausting ups and downs of the last couple of years, is that they actually have help for parents and information for parents on there. So although they are a service for 5 to 25-year-olds, they do have a lot of information to help parents get through difficult situations, and that is so needed. And I also want to bring up, to Matt's point, that it's a free service. It costs a lot of money to put your child in counselling. So, I mean, you make it work. The government gives
rebate,
but still, there's still that out-of-pocket expense that some people just cannot afford realistically. So if you're speaking to your child and you can see they're not quite right, why not recommend giving the Kids Helpline an email or opening up a chat box and talking to them? Just if they don't want to open up to you, direct them to where they can open up to. I just feel that's so important. And there's a shortage of psychologists as well. So, you know, when we were inquiring to get our children counselling after Charlotte passed away, even though a wonderful service was available for us, it still took about 4 months to get in. And it's just, that's the reality of the world. And we've got psychiatrists walking off the job. We've got, it's scary. And when you need mental health help immediately, you have to call the Kids Helpline, please. Just please tell you, take the stigma away from asking for help, especially with the kids. Oh, you know, well, if you don't want to tell me, why don't you just go on the Kids Helpline website and just
normalize it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how to put that into words.
No, that's really, really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, they only have 180 counsellors. Hopefully the community can fund them a few more. But yeah, we're really in support of them. They do some wonderful things.
I've got one last question for you both, and it's just come to my mind as we've been talking. Where does your strength come from?
Love. People ask me all the time the same question, and I say it's not strength, it's love. We have to get up and live in love every day for her. And that's, you know, it's as simple as that. And we just don't want this to happen to anyone else. I feel personally that I failed Charlotte, and in her honour, I'm not going to fail anyone else. I'm going to get louder and louder and louder until we can stamp out as much of it as possible.
I don't feel strong. You can look at me.
That's right. We don't feel strong.
This is our lives now. It's
kicking and screaming and crying some days just to get out of bed.
Yeah, you know, there's not a day that's a good day. You know, they're.
I haven't lived a day since Charlotte died.
They're bearable days and awful days, and that's sort of what you live in. I mean, I go to the gym in the morning, and I always sit in the car and have a little cry before I go in there every day. But I think, again, it probably comes back to that thing I mentioned at the start, that sense of responsibility. It's not until you've gone through it that you can have any idea how awful it is. And you know, if you're any sort of human, you would go out of your way to do whatever you can to stop anybody else from having to go through it. And we never thought this would happen to us. No. You know, we were living a normal life. You know, that night that Charlotte passed, we were planning our upcoming Christmas holidays. You know, I was working with her on her maths assessment that she had at the end of that week. We're just normal people living a normal life. But, you know, our lives changed that night, and I'm trying to stop anybody else's from having to go through that, because it's debilitating. So that's what gets us up in the morning, but I can assure you, it's not strength.
No,
it's not. It's not strength.
Nothing strong about us.
No. It would be far easier for us to lay in bed all day, but then others will go through what we're going through. So that's not an option.
Kelly, you had written a letter to Mr. Albanese last year, and Whipper passed that on. And Albo called you personally after he received it and read it, which I thought was pretty decent of him to do.
No words.
Yeah. But I did want to point out that letter was very, very significant. It opened the door to our meeting with the PM down in Canberra that day, which was a really pivotal moment in the movement to raise the age. And I just wanted to say again that your vulnerability and your courage were at the heart of this world first legislation in Australia that will change the way young people experience growing up in this country for generations to come. So I just wanted to say once again, thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Matt. And I really appreciate you giving us some of your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.